Hello. Let me just wait to see the live is proper. Yes, it is. Hi everyone. I'm so glad I was able to fix that. Okay, so today's live was not planned. Um I just felt like I had to do it. This is a public service announcement on racial ethics in the workplace and how to protect Black women, right? And this is especially towards Black people who work within the systems that Black women have to utilize or work with for their children, for themselves. So, let's get started. So, today I was inspired to create this video because a situation happened, right? And I want to be respectful and, keep some level of privacy. But yesterday, something happened to me, right? In regards to an institution that I have to be in constant contact with for my daughter. And I received a phone call which was not scheduled. And they were talking to me, they were rude. um, and, like they were just, the things that were being said completely displeased me. And I expressed that. And at the end of the conversation, I I just was like, is that all you have to say? Okay. So I hung up the phone, hoping that that would have been the end of the conversation, right? No, it wasn't. So then later on, when I had to be there in person, um, and I was just hoping to go there, let everything be smooth, um, get my daughter and leave. And so the same person again stopped me. And even though I attempted to leave, they prevented me from leaving, and they wanted to continue the conversation from earlier on the phone. And I didn't want to continue the conversation because there was nothing left to be said, right? And so I was I expressed the fact that I didn't like what they had said to me, and I expressed that I didn't agree with what they said to me, which is my right as a parent, especially if it has something to do with my daughter, to say, hey, I don't like this, I don't agree with it. And as I was getting frustrated, I requested that we ended the conversation because I felt like I was not in the space to have that conversation at that time, especially because there were children around and my daughter. Which I didn't want her to be like there around adults having conversations regardless. So I requested that we ended the conversation, which we did, and I went along my way, right? And again, hoping that would be the end of the conversation. So that was yesterday. And then today, when I had to engage again with those people at that organization, um, when I went for my daughter, you know, in all the times I've been there, there's never been security at this place at this particular time, right? And all of a sudden, today, there was security present. And so I'm like, okay, this may not have anything to do with what occurred yesterday, or it may. Either way, it felt it felt very odd. It felt, I'm really, really, truly giving these people the benefit of the doubt that the security guard being present had nothing to do with what occurred yesterday because I was very respectful. However, as a parent, it's important that I'm able to speak about what is displeasing me with an organization as it relates to my treatment or my daughter's treatment. I believe whether you're a black mother or a white mother, you deserve that kind of treatment because in this instance, especially today, I felt that that was a microaggression. Had I been a white mother who expressed her, um, just how displeased I was about an occurrence, I don't believe that there would have been a security guard there the next day, you know? And being that I've been parts of these kinds of organizations before, you sort of know, like, the inner workings of the situation. You know what to look for. You can see that, like, somebody who wasn't placed in a specific spot, like previously, is now placed there in order to deter a certain behavior, you know? And that was what I felt was the microaggression. But being that no one specifically walked up to me and said anything to me, I cannot say that, it was outright racism, but I felt the microaggression. And so for those of you who, need a brush up on what racism is, I have the definition for you. So racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, right? And so to give you a reason of why I felt it was racism is because first and foremost, white mothers can go up to organizations that have to deal with their children and express how they feel about that organization without feeling, that there will be some kind of retaliation or without feeling like they'll have to deal with any kind of intimidation afterwards. White women, white mothers have that ability, right? And then it's like this kind of situation is eerily similar to like that concept of, how having a white police officer in black neighborhoods is like putting the sheep, right, to police lions, right? The sheep is always going to feel like there's crime everywhere, or they're always going to feel like, you know, they're hyper vigilant and that, like they should be scared or that they're in danger. It's that same feeling, that those white police officers feel when they're in those black neighborhoods. And it's like, as much as I hate to say it, that's a similar thing with white teachers when they're dealing with black parents, right? And most of all is black mothers, because a lot of the times the black fathers are not there, right? And so I guess what I'm saying is, in that instance, I felt it was like racist, right? Like the fact that in all of my time going to that organization, there'd never been a security guard there, like at that time in that space, right? And so all of a sudden, after what happened yesterday, and me expressing my displeasement, today there was one. And so I'm not gonna say it was because of that situation from yesterday, but it's like with all of what's happening, like people are not very like, they don't consider the feelings of black mothers, and that needs to change. And so when I'm talking about, like, I also want to be clear about what I'm saying when I'm saying like I felt it was a microaggression, right? And so for those of you who don't know what a microaggression is, or you need a brusher up, this is a definition for what a microaggression is. A microaggression can be a statement, an action, or an incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group such as racial or ethnic minorities, right? So, being that I am a Black woman and I am dealing with people who are of another race, and because I can't say for sure that this is what it was, but this is what I felt, and that's why it's a microaggression, because an action that was done by a group of people made me feel marginalized, made me feel, you know, discriminated against. And so, whether it was their intention or not, that's what happened. That's what I felt, right? And that's why it's a microaggression. So, let me just explain to you all a little bit of like what I saw, right? So, when I get there, there's never been a security guard there before. And so, the security guard, who was a Spanish woman, right? Do you say Spanish? Hispanic woman. She passed by, right? She stayed more so on the inner of the building, and she passed by and she looked outside, and she passed by again, she looked outside, like, just subtly being there, right? But me having the trained eyes, I know what that is, like she was just making her presence known, right? And so it felt very targeted, subtly though, right? And so my whole question was like, why did they feel like they needed a security guard there today? You know, is it because, you know, the white teachers felt a specific way about their interactions with this Black mother? And that's why you felt the need to put a security guard there today? I don't know, but that's what it felt like, you know? Meanwhile, I was the one who I just wanted to walk away from the conversation. I didn't want to have the conversation. So, even though the conversation was well deserved, I have to say that much. It was well deserved. Um, but that's what I felt. The microaggressions is an indignity that Black single mothers have to face. So then something else about the situation that like stuck out to me is the fact that in most places where there's like security, it doesn't matter if you're in like a Rainbow, which is like a boutique that's found in urban neighborhoods, or if you're at Bloomies, right? A lot of the time the security officers are Black men or men of color. Specifically, usually it's more so Black men, right? It's Black people that are hired in these positions of security, right? I've never encountered a white security officer, right? It's usually like you'll see white police officers, but not security at like a regular store. And I think that's specific, I think that's like someone thought of that and they created that, and like it's like that's a thing now, that is like Black men who are security, or people of color who are security and who are policing or like securing establishments from minority groups. It's like they're making you police your own people for a paycheck, and something about that sometimes can be unethical because some Black people don't see their community. They see the paycheck they need to put food on the table for their family or to put a roof over their head, right? And so they'll treat Black people any kind of way. They'll be the ones committing microaggressions against you in a store. You'll go to a Target and it's a Black man who's walking behind you step and toe. You'll go to the grocery store and it's a Spanish person, a Hispanic person, like hawking eyes at the camera at whatever aisle you're on. That does something to the community. It deteriorates the soul of our community. you know? And so another example I have of this is, like as a single mother, most of the time, I hope you guys can hear me. Let me just put this away somewhere. As a single mother, most of the time you are stuck having to, let me just put this on me. You are having to protect yourself against all types of people in all types of institutions. So the specific one I just talked about is like a teaching institution, right? Um, where you have to deal with those people because your child is there. Or the next example I have is like usually in this specific instance, like you have to go to court. And so like Black mothers a lot of the time, and even I've had to deal with this, the people in charge, the people in power, they treat you legally, they treat you like a rag doll, because they're in power, even though they could be Black, even though they could be racially ambiguous or whatever you want to call it. They say the worst of worst things to you as a single mother who already is dealing with a lot of indignities, or you're already dealing with a situation that is so disrespectful, and they'll say any old thing to you because they know that single Black mothers are not protected, like they're not a minority group that is protected, that most of the time people will treat us any kind of way because they know that um or they feel like morally we don't deserve to be protected, right? Which is not true. We are the backbones of these communities, right? We should be cherished, and we do. More than often, we do find people who protect us or who are willing to stand up for us, right? Like me, somebody like me. That's why I created this entire organization, is because I believe single mothers are to be protected. I believe that they're supposed to be celebrated because we are an integral part of the Black community, right? But going back to my example, for instance, when I was in court, even though I was beyond a great mother to my child, there was somebody in power within the court system that literally said to me, some people, she made this statement, some people don't deserve to have children, or something like that, right? To that effect, she made that statement. Now, whatever information she had, whether it was false or she believed whatever she wanted to believe, it doesn't matter. Like, however she felt about single mothers came out in that statement, and it's like, the issue there is the fact that you are a person in power in a system that is very powerful in our society, and you felt it okay to say this very degrading statement to a Black single mother. And things like that have to stop. And if you're a single mom and you're watching this and you've gone through something like that, I encourage you to speak up. I encourage you to activate your political power. When you see these types of people and they're like climbing their ladder at whatever system they're in, I encourage you to go and go to the public forums and speak out against them. Tell people about your experiences with them so that they don't get voted in. If they're going and they want to be a judge, or they want to just climb that ladder, if you use your words, use your ability to have a political stance, and tell people, make sure they know, like, when you're face to face with these people, this is how they behave. It doesn't matter that they're Black. It doesn't matter that they're racially ambiguous. They are not for the people. They are not standing up for the culture. They don't protect Black single mothers. You have to speak up for yourself, and you have to protect other single mothers within your community, right? So then I have another example, and this was back when my child was still very small. I feel like she must have been like under 12 months. She must have been like 7 or so months or something like that. Right? But it was sometime like after coronavirus. So so we went to Barnes and Nobles, and um by that point they had taken away all the seats at Barnes and Nobles, even in the baby section. So what happened was there was a black security guard. I saw him when I walked in, right? And he was, doing his rounds and everything. And oopsie, excuse me. He was doing his rounds, but I didn't think anything of it, right? And I was just like, "Ooh, I have a big baby, so my back was hurting." And I was just like, I just need to sit down really quickly just to catch my breath, and like get my strength up so we can, do go about our business. And so I said it out loud as we were walking through an aisle at the baby section of Barnes and Nobles. Excuse me. And then there was a manager, he was passing by, right? This was a white man. He was passing by and he heard me say this. And and he was like, "Oh, come, let me help you." And he was like, "I'm a manager here, so here you can have this chair and sit down and rest until you're ready." Right? And I was like, "Thank you." Right? So he took the chair, opened the chair, and gave it to me for me to sit down and just catch my, because he saw my baby. So then he sat us down and he walked away to go and handle his business. Not 2 minutes later, the black security officer who was there, this man came to me and he was just like, "You need to get up. Where did you get that chair from? Who told you you could sit there?" Right? And I was like, "Okay." I got up and he took the chair. He didn't even give me a chance. He took the chair, closed it, and put it away. As I start to walk away with my child to get into the elevator, the manager is like, "What just happened? Did he take the chair away from you?" So he was watching from where he was. And I was like, "Yeah, but it's okay. I'm leaving." And then he was like, "No, how could he take the chair away from you?" Right? And I'm like, "It's okay." So then he went to go and talk to the security guard. And before I could get on the elevator, this black security guard came to me and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that the manager had given you the chair." And in that instant, I knew what this black man wanted from me as a black woman was to pardon him for harming me like that, right? You see me as a black woman with a black child, and I needed rest. I needed to sit down, and you came and you took that chair from me. Even if the manager had not given it to me, as a black man, what is your job? Your job is to protect black women, is to nurture black babies, is to make sure that we have everything that we need, not to take it from us, right? Even in that small situation, it's like you weren't looking out for us. You, in your mind, you was at work and all you could think of was, what would this manager think if he sees that this customer is sitting on this chair? It didn't even occur to you that what could this mother be facing right now? Like, what does she need? All you thought about was, I need to protect my job by not letting this woman sit on this chair, right? And then on top of that, not only did he take away the chair from me, he didn't consider me. And he came to for me to give him, like, a carte blanche on this discussion that he just did, because like he felt bad, and he wanted me to soothe what little ego I guess he had left. Like, "Oh, you didn't do anything wrong, I'm fine," right? And it's like, you black women need to stop being put in that position after we are harmed by a black person, another black person, that we then have to just be like, "Oh no, don't worry about it, we're fine, we strong, we can take it." Like, we should no longer be doing that anymore, you know So then, oh no, what happened to my thing? Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. And then I would say going way, way back, right? And I'm only giving these examples because I'm sure there are a lot of you single mothers out there who's probably experienced these kinds of things, right? And I think it's about time that we start holding people accountable and we start talking about like all of the indignities that we have to deal with as single mothers. We start, like holding all these black people who are saying that they stand for this and that and the third, and they want to help their sisters and their brothers. We make sure we hold a mirror to them, like how really are you helping, because like some of the things you're doing is harmful. You're not including people like me, you're not considering people like me, so then we need to hold these black doctors, to some sort of a standard on how they treat black single mothers. There's this big push for like like the fight against maternal mortality, right? Which is how like a lot of the time black mothers are having more complications when it comes time for labor and delivery. And then there's the mortality rate for black moms is high in the United States, right? And so there's a lot of like discussion and there's a lot of activism around that. But at the same time, where my criticism would be that, are you guys including single mothers and the experiences of single mothers in this fight? Because for all the surveys and all of the literature and all of the politicians that are like, this is the hill for them, right? Like, how many single mothers do you have in your project? How many single mothers are you platforming to talk about their experiences? Because since so many people have like negative reactions to single mothers, I'm sure those politicians are like trying to like not put single mothers at the forefront of their fight because they think that that's going to deter from their goal, from their mission or whatever, and that's not the way it should be. Single mothers are also mothers as well, right? And our situation is even more sensitive because at least there are women, though a lot of the women that you guys are like including in this fight for maternal mortality or against maternal mortality are women who have husbands who, if they, after they've passed on, their husbands can speak up and tell about their experience and all this kind of stuff. But single mothers don't have that. They don't have husbands, boyfriends, or so on, whatever, to like, speak up for them after they're gone. And so how many of those stories are you including in your push against maternal mortality in the black community? That's just my question to those politicians, right? Because, for example, in my situation, when I was giving birth to my child, I was alone. And it was not by choice. I made it very clear when I was expected to be going into to give birth. And so, you know, people made their choices and they decided that I didn't need that support, right? And so I was alone. And I remember specifically black doctors, coming in and trying to do to me and like speak to me however they wanted to, right? So eventually, without even considering that like I'm a woman doing this on my own, they're speaking to me as if like anything they told me to do I should just do. I didn't need an explanation for why it needed to be done to my body. And knowing the history of the medical system in this country with the bodies of minority women, And having the knowledge and having the education I have and having the personality that I have, it was not going to be possible for me to just allow people to do medically whatever they wanted to do to my body without my consent, without explaining to me what was happening, which is a good thing to do. You should always advocate for yourself during labor and delivery, and these doctors, these Black women doctors came in. I remember a specific one. It was a dark skinned Black doctor. And she came in and she was just like, just at me, like going back and forth with me about what she wanted to do and how she wanted this to go. And I'm just like, no, it won't happen. like, and while I was going back and forth with her, I just remember thinking, I can't believe this woman is arguing with me here at this moment, while I'm about to like push out a baby. And so we need to like, there needs to be some sort of way that Black women can speak up about those types of experiences, for labor and delivery, even if it wasn't they didn't end up being mortal. They didn't end up losing their life, but those kinds of moments where like having a child is one of the most vulnerable times of a woman's life. And for you to have to be in that moment and you're by yourself. And don't get me wrong, I did have support for a lot of the time, but like some of the most crucial times, I didn't have a person that was supposed to be there. And so it was all me as a Black woman in this. And I remember feeling like, wow, I had to fight. I had to fight every step of the way. I'm fighting someone, or, I'm arguing, or I have to stand up for myself. I have to advocate for myself. Um, and it's like, and even in this moment when I'm in labor and there's a Black doctor in the room, this is where I'm supposed to feel like safe and somebody has my back. That woman did not have my back. She knew what she wanted to do, and like if I was standing against that, like it was a problem for her, and she was going to come and argue with me, and that's just like, that's something that leaves an impression on a mother, like that's something that leaves an impression on you, especially at that kind of a vulnerable moment in a woman's life, right? So, and this Black doctor was doing it because when like the white nurses came in and they were like, oh, you have to do this, or you have to let us do that, or you could go to another hospital because this is a teaching hospital and we're supposed to allow the students to come and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it's not going to happen because I'm nobody's guinea pig. When I spoke to the nurses like that, and I'm just like, okay, so if that's what it's going to have to be, that's what it's going to have to be. I guess the white nurses went out and went to go and call the doctor. This Black woman came in there and she was just trying to like, yell over me and trying to intimidate me into letting them do whatever they wanted to do to me and my body. And I said, no, doesn't matter if you send in the Black woman to come and intimidate me. I'm not letting anyone, no more students are touching my body. And I felt justified in standing up for myself that way, even though it was quite hurtful that this was happening in this way. Like I was just like, I'm right here because when you're going through like your pregnancy, there's a doctor that you're seeing regularly. There are doctors sometimes depending on like where you're going, for like, your care in pregnancy. Sometimes it's a team that rotate, like different doctors in one team rotate, and so you get to know these doctors, and this gives you a level of comfort because it's like, okay, I've gotten to know you over these past couple of months, and so one of you guys will be the ones delivering my baby, right? So then the person that's supposed to like be there with you, even though like the person who was supposed to be there isn't, or like is making the choice not to be there, right? At least the doctor, you're like, okay, at least this doctor I know will be there, or one of these doctors will be the person that's there. I will know someone, right? But then when you get to the hospital, because it's a teaching hospital, all these students, all these student doctors, these students, doctors in training, they all have to touch your body. They all have to like be in the room when like you're at your most vulnerable, and it's like, why does my body have to be used in this way? And I don't want it. I'm not comfortable with it. And you expressing that and you advocating that for yourself is deemed as, because you're a Black woman, is deemed as you're being difficult. Is deemed as, oh, send somebody in to go in and talk to her and set her straight and let her tell her that we need to do this and there's no other way, or she can leave this hospital and go somewhere else. Like, and those are the kinds of treatments that Black single mothers are getting. And that also needs to be like really interrogated and really looked at, you know? So I share all this and I say all this to say that I hope that didn't mess up the stream. Okay. I share all this to say there's a lot of Black and Hispanic people who are in positions of power. And sometimes when your boss asks you to treat a specific group of people a certain way, you have to say no. You have to say like, no, I can't do that. Honestly don't even send somebody else to do it. This is just not the right way to go about handling these people. They deserve a certain level of care. They deserve a certain level of respect. If you Black people and you Spanish people aren't holding the people who are above you like accountable, like you're leaving us, the customers, the clients, the Black single mothers at their like, I don't know, like whatever they want to do, they're just gonna do it. And if they don't use you to do it, they'll use somebody else. You guys need to be ethical and stand for something, right? Protect your community, protect the Black women in your community. You know, most of the time, it's been a white man who's protected me against a Black man. And as a Black woman who loves the Black community, that that is like, that's just like, you when you experience it, it's shocking. It's shocking because it's like, this Black man is harming me, or this Black woman is harming me, and it has to be a white man who steps in and protects me, or gives me the help that I need, or uplifts me, or just is respectful to me. As a woman who loves the Black community, like that needs to be fixed in our community. Black people who are in positions of power need to protect the Black community, need to protect Black women, need to protect Black single mothers more. So, have some ethics about yourself. Stop letting people use you as the whip, to get minority groups in line. Stop allowing yourself to be used to harm or to terrorize Black people. Have some ethics about yourself. Because what you as a Black person does that harms another Black individual, somebody else might do to your mom, your father, your siblings, your wife, your husband, your cousins. You have to think about it this way. You're in a position, right? You whatever position that is, it doesn't matter, because anybody in any system can have a negative effect on a Black person, on a Black consumer, Black client, Black patient, from no matter what your position is, right? From the janitor all the way to the CEO, just based off of the biases you have about Black people, about Black women, about Black single mothers. You really have to interrogate yourself. and ask yourself, what is it about me that is allowing me to see these people this way and treat them like this? Don't let yourself be used to commit these harmful actions or microaggressions against Black women, because it doesn't help move our community forward. Black women should be cherished, uplifted, celebrated, protected, especially by other Black people, especially by other Black women, especially by other Black men. And I'm including Hispanic people in this too. You know, that's my public service announcement. And so, if I would have to wrap this up and give you guys a call to action, it would be that right today, there is a 24-hour live stream happening, organized by like certain liberals, Democrats, whatever you want to call them, that's really talking about the efforts that we are all having to make against the Trump cartel and their administration. My words, the Trump cartel is my word, but like, the Trump administration and the oligarchs that have to do with affecting Black people and other people of color in a negative way. So the live stream, what is the live stream called? The State of the People. So I would suggest you go and find the link and watch it. It's still happening. I took a break um to do this live, which I hope is going well and you guys can see it and you can hear me well. But go and listen to the live stream. It's very informative. It really exposes us to a lot of Black thought leaders and people who own Black businesses that center around like pushing our community into a more positive place. And I think that the reason why they said they put it on today is because I think later on today, Trump is going to be addressing the nation. And so we are not going to watch it because we're still going to continue to watch the 24-hour State of the People live stream. So go and find that live stream and watch it and educate yourself about something so that you can figure out how, as a Black person or as a person of color, you can be more ethical in your interactions with Black people in whatever system that you're in. If you're a police officer, if you are, in like the law field, if you are in I don't know, academia, if whatever system, even if you work at a grocery store, whatever it is, find ways to be more ethical in how you you deal with Black women, you engage with Black single mothers. um be a protector, for Black women, because that's what is needed. Because Black women do so much for our community. We need to be protected. And sometimes it's just is the weirdest thing where it's like we have to look outwards out of our community for protection. Sometimes we don't even look, it just comes. White some of the time, especially for me, I could speak for myself, white men protect me more than Black men do. You know, that we need to do better as a community. And I appreciate the white men who have protected me and who've stood up for me because I deserve it. I just want Black men to understand you need to do the same thing for the Black women in your community too. So, and it's not just Black men, Black women, especially the older Black women. You need to, even if you don't understand, the younger generation, it's still your job to protect the people within your community because we're the ones that's going to take care of you when you're old age. So, yeah, go watch the 24-hour live stream for the State of the People. And if you're a single mother and you're looking for community, you're looking to, have a sisterhood of women who are like you and who probably have had like similar experiences as you, you can consider joining us, becoming a member of the Nahuna Haven for Minority Women Incorporated. Um, you can contact us and just talk with us so we can see how we can support you and we can help you. So thank you guys for watching this live stream, and I hope that you found something positive in it, and I hope that it's given you something to think about, and that you really question yourselves on how you could be more ethical, more racially ethical at work, and be protective over Black women and over Black single mothers. Okay. So thank you. I feel like I've said everything I needed to say, So I will see you guys. Bye.